All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for January 25th, 2022. We're about 2 weeks away from starting up the next cohort of Creativity 202. 30 lessons, weekly check ins, over 100 hours of recorded material. You get lifetime access to it. You get to work with the last cohort that's going to stay on and go through another iteration. Turns out to be the best coaching program that we offer. For trading and for all things adult education. All right, so we're going to start with the swing trade portfolio first. So this is U.S. Steel. This is all these are on 30-minute charts. That was our last positive swing. We stayed out of the chop. We saw the Kata 2 happening today. The PSAR flip occurred. I entered when it crested the RL10. I'm playing this tactical move to the 10 and 30-day high. If that breaks out, I will be adjusting my stop. We had a nice close on the day, so we're holding, about that much to the good. My stop is still here, just giving it a little bit of room. I'm really tempted to just move it here first thing in the morning to lock in the gains, but true to the discipline, I'll just keep it in place for one more day. Cliff was a similar position here. Its sell-off was not as exaggerated as U.S. Steel. And so I was ready to take it off of this double bottom here. And the PSAR flip and everything was working. So we're long from here. My stop is here. This is one I think I'm willing to just raise up a little bit tomorrow and get that little wedge locked in. So the metals are working. We talked about this one last night. Kept going back to Brazil in this stealth move, and so I said I was ready to trade the breakout above this level, and that's what it did today. And it made a really strong move, and then is pushing to a new 30-day high. My initial stop was here at the belly of the RL10. That's when I'm going to move up into here and lock in this wedge. And I will add a position if it breaks and keeps going higher. Really like Brazil. McDonald's is still a short position from here. As long as it stays underneath this price level, I'm still playing the short side on it. The scale on this chart's a little off because of the problem in the New York Stock Exchange at the open yesterday. It had some weird prints, and it's showing this extraordinary range on the first bar of yesterday. So it's not until you get out of this that you see the real variation in price. So that one's a little problematic. Tesla. So this one just got trimmed out of it here. So we had the nice entry from about 122 with that standard risk box. We endured through all of this, and we saw that move yesterday. So I moved my stop from underneath here up to here, and bigger than Stuttgart, it sold off, hit me for the exit, and reversed. I thought really strongly about just re-entering right there, but that was sort of a emotional response, so I don't care what it does tomorrow. But if it goes above 146, I will re-enter the position here and just say, sometimes when you're locking in gains, you lock in a gain. And so there you are. So I will just be happy with the 2.5 R we got on that trade and just chalk it up to misfortune. This is Devon. So our last trade was this one, And when the PSAR broke, we got out of it and were able to avoid all of this that came right back to the previous belly of the RL10. Today, that sell-off happened and just rocketed up. I was cautious on this one and just waited for the PSAR. So here's my entry on the PSAR flip with a standard risk box. There's still almost three of those back to the top of the stack, so I was not in such a hurry to get this piece. That was a good intraday trade on 3 minutes, but from the swing perspective, I was a little more disciplined and just took that one. So we're long in Devon. Treasuries, we had this SSC close here. Then today it did this and is playing nicely. My stop is still here. I think I'm going to move it up to just under today's low and lock in 106, that's about a 40 cent or a 50 cent per share gain on about $1 risk. That's about a quarter of an R in hand. I still like that one as a defensive play. Mexico, we are long from here, from 3 days ago. It did not have the same kind of upward explosive pressure that Brazil did, but it's got this Kata 2 action going, which I really like. And I think that if this breaks north of 58, then this has a real chance to go maybe on sympathy with Brazil, but I'm cautiously optimistic on that one. I have raised the stop to just below today's low, and I'm liking that one. Early days for that one. Real estate had the SSC entry. There's the harsh winter. Our stop is still here. It's monkeyed around a little bit. Closed pretty well. It went into the winter, back into the spring. I think if it breaks above 90 and a quarter, then this thing has a real chance to go. I'm going to raise my stop to underneath today's low, like to 89, to lock in this little piece right here. That'll be the locking in the win. I like that one as an alternative to equities. Clean energy. So this one, it got me. So we had a short that covered here. We took the late Kata 2 entry here. And, I saw the PSAR flip. I didn't take the exit. Saw this failing. Didn't take it. Finally took the scratch here today on the gap down and even a micro loss. And then it sold off and did exactly the same thing as the other one did. And I took the PSAR flip re-entry. So I still feel all right with that one. We'll keep the stop here at 43 and a quarter in clean energy. That's one where if that fails, I will stop and reverse. Marijuana, this short is really dominating. It's had a series of collapsing dragons, and today's little recovery and then fail only reinforces the vulnerability to the downside. So if 640 breaks, down she goes. So this is short from about 7 on a 10-cent risk. So we're in at 7, and it's basically at 640. So that's a 6R win on that one, and I got to move my stop down, I think, to about 650. Because if this holds tomorrow and takes off, I will be content with a 6R. If that fails below 640, I'm going to add a second position. This is a better swing trader than an intraday trader. It's tradable intraday, but not quite as liquid as some of our other ones. This was a painful lesson here. So we got the Kata 2 in the Ethereum trust. Suffered through all that. Thought hard about exiting here at the PSAR flip, but I was remembering this nice run and that nice run and the previous nice run. It gapped down and then stabilized. It did not go higher, and I should have taken that as the second warning. I was tempted to just cash that one there. And then today, it gapped down here so close to the entry. I said, well, let me just wait, and then took the scratch, and then it recovered a little bit. So I was able to turn almost a 3R win into a scratch, and then instant regret when this held support here. So I did not re-enter it because I had too much emotion in that trade, and we'll see what it does tomorrow. Let me let it stabilize for the rest of this week. So that's the swing patterns. We added some new longs today. Got a couple shorts that are working. McDonald's is the one I probably should have gotten out of. If the market really is turning here, that's going to end up being a value play. So we'll see how that one goes tomorrow. All right, let's go to the sniper trades of the day. All right, so this is the intraday pure. So this is U.S. Steel on 3-minute. Here was yesterday's close. Here was the gap down opening. The OR3 region. And that bar closed here, opened here, resumed. Took out the OR3, so we buy it long there. Standard risk box. Remembering that metals were poised to run hard today. Checker hold, standard opening. This was a case of me just taking the no lose plus dinner for two. It gave me almost a full R and then sold off harshly. Came through the PSAR and the dragon, and I just had to lock in that little wedge. So we made a fraction, and then watched it collapse, a full MMRB, so I made that a stop and reverse. So I'm using the same risk box, but now I'm short. That one scratched. Again, almost a full R in hand. You know, the point of maximum favorable. I probably could have taken the 1-2 exit there after that doji. You know, when you have a doji like that after a sharp downward move and then reversal. I was able to get out of it with a scratch. It then moved straight up, hit the PSAR, so third time maybe pays for all. So I take that entry. Looking long again. Standard risk box. Scratch. So I'm getting a little irritated here. Back in my zero state. Standard caught at 2. Swing low, higher low. Dragon making higher lows. I take it with the standard entry, standard risk. It has to get above this peak of the RL10 to be really interesting. That makes this little region the tactical trade space, and all I've got to do here is get my stop above my entry in that tactical space. Before it gets above this price level, I've got to get my stop locked in so I can lock in that little price wedge. No lose plus dinner for 2. Checker hold. And turn this into a science project. By this time in the trade, I should be able to do that in that tactical space. Like when you see it hold that for a while, I should be able just to get my stop to here by this time. and I'm giving it that much room, but I've locked in that gain. Check or hold? Just in time to take a no-lose plus dinner for 2 exit. Time for a another COTA 2 entry. Standard risk. That's feeling pretty good. Yeah, by the time that takes off, we got to go all the way back to yesterday's peak of the RL10. And so that was the tactical trade space there. This thing now feels like it's free and clear. The 2R battle drill, I should be somewhere right around in here. So with 1 unit of risk and 2 units of reward and clear of all this mess, I should be thinking of a second position approximately here if I was going to put one on. Check or hold? Meantime, my stop, which was here, should probably be underneath those 2 little guys. When this starts moving up, just keep a 2-bar low. And now this closed really well. Price is right there. I don't mind a 1-bar low already, just to kind of lock in that much. Or you could be here to lock in that much. Your choice. Either one of them turns out in retrospect to be really smart, obviously. And now we can just keep thinking about if I'd had my 2R battle drill entry in, we could now be taking the 2-bar lows and probably have a stop right around here, locking in that extra piece. Still good. Standard exit at the PSAR. See, with just one position on, and notice how the bars are getting smaller and the slope of the RL30 is starting to lag a little bit. And here it's weakened enough to give you the spring, and now it's starting to penetrate the dragon. I can tolerate that much pullback on a single position, but if I'd gotten 2 or 3 in here, you have to be much more sensitive to cut that, because you got to remember these 2 second and tertiary positions have not earned like the first one has. So if you just got the 1 on, you can afford to just relax with the PSAR and trust the PSAR. So that one works out to about 1, 2, 3. It looks better than it is, I think. What would we call that entry? COTA 2. Yep. Standard entry. Standard risk box. It gets interesting once it gets above this price level here. So this is the tactical space. My job is to get my stop above my entry as it's breaching that line. So my stop I should be at no lose plus dinner for 2 now, because when it breaches here, I should be able to get my stop up to here. And then it has 1 move and then can't hold, and it's starting to decay. I'm not offended if you just use the PSAR and just give it a time step. Say, hey, you got 2 or 3 bars to make a move. Otherwise, the PSAR is going to catch up and probably exit right there. Check or hold. And bigger than Stuttgart. There we are. and I think that was, we were getting in towards the end of the day. Missed that last little tail, but not a bad series. Once it started unwinding and got its legs, this turned out to be all right. So, they all look the same leaving the station. That's just choppier than than usual in the morning. So a scratch, +3, maybe +1. So that was a minor win. That was a scratch. So maybe 4 on the day on that one. We'll do another one. All right, so this one is Brazil. We saw that on the swing trade. This is what the intraday turbo looks like. We had picked a price level to add to the swing if this earned us some money, so hopefully. All right, so this was yesterday's close here. Here was the open. Here's the peak of the OR3, the bottom of the OR3. It's failing through here, so we take the short at the breach of the OR3. The standard risk box in this case is much bigger than the OR3. Check or hold. Quick reversal and about a half an hour loss, and then when it moved the whole MMRB past me, I took the entry here. Arguably could have taken it here on the run up, but I was a little irritated that I let that winning trade turn into a losing trade. But that happened pretty fast, and I had my span of control issues here. I was also working U.S. steel. So we're in on this one using the same risk box. And long from here, check or hold. I like this one also because it has cleared the previous peak. So I don't feel like I've really lost that much on it. A little bit. Quick loss. I probably gave that one more room than it needed, but I got it at least before it was a full 1R loss. So that's this one's about minus 0.5. This one is about minus 0.7. This was a stop and reverse. That was a stop and reverse. That one got almost a full R, and I managed to get out of there with a scratch. So I was not very good this morning with capturing fractional wins. What are you going to do? When it clears the peak of the dragon, I reverse and get long again, because now I've got rising PSAR, so I'm long with a standard risk box from here. Check or hold. So just to clean that up a little bit. Looks like we're getting ready to crash. Nope. Holding on. So we're long from here. Standard risk box. And we're down about 1.2 so far. Now it is cleared pretty decisively. It's cleared this resistance layer. You know, it tested this for a while here, and now it's voting strong up. So we somewhere in here we got to get our stop to no lose, and maybe lock something in like that from this entry. We'd like to be able to lock in, I think, about that much. That almost gets us back to parity for the day. All right, not sure where the how much of the earlier recording hit. Hopefully, all of it. So, just a quick review here in Brazil. We hit the OR3 short, took the half an hour loss, waited for an MMRB move, got long, took the 1 hour loss, stopped in reverse, took the scratch, took the long. Now by this time we should have a stop right about here because we've cleared the previous resistance levels, and I think we're back to being caught up. All right, so our stop was here. By this time, the stop should be moved up to about here, and we've locked in that much against that much risk, and we've cleared that previous resistance level, so hopefully this thing will go. Now, here we get a 2R battle drill re-entry, or a second position, I should say. Notice we've got, there was enough price hesitation in here to cause the RL10 to reverse, but then the strong move in here was enough to yank this back north, and that wiggle and go, and being more than 2R above the entry, is enough reason, and no resistance, is enough reason to get the second position in, and we're lucky and got that locked in right away. So when I see a great big bar like that, I'd like to get half that bar for both of those positions. So even with the stop here, I like to take half the gift bar. And that was really a gift. Never even looked back. It got two more really strong bars up. So that's the 2R battle drill. That's about a 4 or 5R battle drill. So we're about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that one. So on a move like that, you know, we talked about that last night, what could happen with that stealthy Brazil trade. And by this time, by the time I get the second position in, I've already committed that I'm going to keep 20% of my gains on this one and treat that as my swing trade entry back down here. So I'm committed to a swing trade on this one with the money that we've made from that move. So I've minimized the risk to my core capital. So that's an example of core and turbo trading, which we teach in our advanced course. That is a rational exit. I gave it as much room as I could in here, but I did not want to let the third position go negative, so I gave it as much room as I could. This was such a strong move that I considered the short, but elected not to take it. I wanted to see how far down the stack this thing could go. And I've kept 20% of the position. Basically, I think that's about a 6R win to here. So I sell 5 and keep 1 as the swing. If you had been short here, then upon failure to fail further, and that starts to reverse, that's a good place to exit. If you had been short from here exit here. Now this sets up as a COTA 2 with a standard risk box, and now I want to see it get above this peak when it can really go. It does not. I take the second COTA 2. It grinds and gives me a couple more and then closes well for the day. And so those positions, those, the 2R from here really is just money in the day trading bank. And now the swing from this entry is fully paid for with the money that we earned on the larger positions, larger position sizes from the intraday trade. Okay. Check or hold. All right, so here was, we'll go to the market health checks now. So here was yesterday's close. Today was a gap down, morning hook and go. So this just captured all of the people like me that were nervous in the service from that nice gain, that nice powerful run up. Everybody that maybe like us that bought the supported spring crossing, we might have placed stops in and around here to preserve that move and being underneath that. Well, those stops all got run, and so the exits you saw today from the swing trades all got ticked by that sharp move down, and then the strong buying pressure comes right back in, which leads me to be reasonably optimistic about a break above 402, and I think Brazil is especially well poised to take advantage of that, as are the metals. The Cliff and the U.S. Steel had pretty good days today, so I'm looking for those three to do well. On the daily chart, so here's our 1 day, 5 day, 10 day, 30 day look backs. You can see we've gone from winter into the spring, into the summer. We're testing this one today, and the PSAR is still locked in place. This feels like it could really go in 410 and 406 are the next two. That's a 30-day high, and that's the peak of the previous RL10. So both of those are in range tomorrow. We could have a nice couple more days for this week. That would not hurt my feelings. Taking a look at the sectors from a distance. As usual, the S&P right in the middle. Only the Qs lagged today. They were down 0.22 while the market was up, or flat, basically 0.04. So we have not seen the tech leaders yet. Although we will notice that Tesla had a pretty good day. So diamonds, emerging markets, treasuries, and the best was the Russell at 0.28. So not much performance at all out of the indexes, but the defensive plays did pretty well. Brazil, wheat and precious, lithium, silver, energy, finance, uranium, ARC Genomics, consumer discretionary oil, and then there's our two metals enjoying life at the top of the stack, plus 3%, and they crushed Alcoa. So this is still a mind split of a metal sector. Yesterday it was Alcoa was good, and those two lagged, and these two were great today, and Alcoa lagged. So finding the movers, that nets out that the sector's been doing pretty good. You have ARC Innovation, Biotech, the Aussie dollar, some lumber, Mexico materials, agriculture, and staples. So this was still the defensive plays were better than the market. The standard leaders like commercial real estate, tech, NASDAQ tech, the FANGs, were all lagging today. There's Apple, Microsoft, PayPal, Intel, and Texas Instruments. Only NVIDIA had a strong move in the semis, so it's continuing to differentiate from the laggards in Intel and Texas Instruments. So that's still the way to play it. We'll see someone who took advantage of that one today when we cut to the traders. Darn it. Sorry, thought I had it open. All right, so Nolan took some words yesterday to heart and is focusing strictly on the Kata 2 challenge today. You're going to see an immediate improvement. So he's refreshing his mindset on the rules and the objectives and the general principles. And you're going to see much increased discipline in his performance today already. So coachability. So he's using the Kata 2 and the OR3, and he's going to identify the other patterns when he sees them but not take them. And so he gets some pretty good performance today out of this is Microsoft, which he is already, I think, psychologically well prepared to trade for 2.2. So here's the OR3 and a standard risk box. He gets it short. He locks in again because why not? Now, he identifies this as a collapsing dragon, correct, and another collapsing dragon when it comes below here, correct. He identifies this as an SSC, correct. He takes this as a Kata 2. I think that's correct. I don't think that was an error. I think you said, no, you called this one an error. That one's fine. That's a quick cut. Now, he thought this was an error. I think that's okay because that's actually a Kata 2 to the downside. And I'm going to show you why here. Let me clean this out. So, this is a Kata 2 to the upside because you have, lows. And this one didn't even get through. So I would treat that as a support. And you get a 1, 2, 3. That's reasonable. If you had waited for this one, then that's even more better. So if anything, these two were quick. But I'm not offended by those because I think they were well placed. Especially when this one failed to get through the dragon and you just saw a really nice morning hook already. That still feels legit to me. Now, the reason this is a Kata 2 to the downside is because the R10 has come through the dragon. You have this high and this high. That acts as a lower high. And you would be ready to take a breakdown below here or here as collapsing dragon. So this one is really a Kata 2 on a continuation anticipating some move like that. What I like is the quick exit and immediate reversal for the formal Kata 2. He gets a second position on, which quickly scratches. I would take this one as a Kata 2 reentry because this one, it never even penetrated the dragon and is continuing, and you'd have crushed that. This one's a Kata 2 to the downside because this peak is still lower than that peak. It's not by much, but that's a reasonable shot that paid. And now this is a Kata 2 to the upside because you now have these And notice he's waiting now for the price to get across the dragon, hit the PSAR, gets paid. We might have gotten in a little bit earlier, but I don't mind that scratch. But that's 2.2. That's much better. Much better than yesterday. Here's Satya for 3R in Alcoa. Here's his OR3. So he takes that here. You could actually have taken that in here because after this OR3 comes up and then everything rolls over, there's the belly of the RL10. You're below the VWAP, you're below the dragon, everything's failing. You could legitimately take that one. I don't mind you waiting for the breakdown of the low of the day. He gets paid. I think you could get short here, but certainly by here, that's a collapsing dragon. He gets paid. Might have taken the SSC. I think prudently takes the COTA 2. This should be on this side. This risk should be down here. And he waits for it to cross the VWAP, gets a nice little paycheck. He sees the PSAR flip, waits for the VWAP to break, and then it rolls over a second time, and then gets that one nicely done. And then if you had been trading, I would have expected you to crush both of those legs and that leg. So Alcoa, not so bad, 2.9. Here's Woj. He's working the market here, SPY. There's his big gap. There's his OR3. Takes it. This should be a stop and reverse. Waits for the break. Gets paid. I'd like to see you capture more of that. You gave back 75% of that trade. When this rolls over short of the piece, I'd like to see you short somewhere in here. There's an SSC. He would ordinarily take that as a COTA 2 as it crosses the VWAP, and then all of these COTA 2s all the way up for those of you trading the futures, and it gets all the way back to the previous resistance. So this is the downward stretch, like you're pulling on a bow and arrow, and it only takes this much time for it to fail, and it takes 3 times as long for it to grind north. So this is climbing up the steps and jumping out the window, although in this case it jumped out the window first and then climbed up the steps and got right back to the previous fair value. So that was a pure tactical trade in the market. A head fake to shake people out, I think, is how it manifested. In his other positions, he brings home 7.5 R. So instead of trading the index, he was on his preferred targets. Gets a nice OR3 breakdown. There was an SSC. Oh man, how good would that have been? On U.S. Steel, he gets paid on this one, and yeah, he doesn't get the Z3 pinch breakout, but that's because he was over here managing 6.7 R, 1 and 2 in NVIDIA. Tesla, a quick loss, a quick paycheck. The SSC, now he shifts to NVIDIA. So he'd have gotten this in Tesla, but NVIDIA was a stronger mover. So 7.5 for the day. Well done. Shift to the reports. Oops, dashboard 1. Sideways quiet, very strong on all of the look back periods, minus except the 270, which has come up to 40, so that's not bad. Still 1.3% above the 200. Risk on, not abnormally so this is still upside as possible. You know, I see the min pain in McDonald's, and I wonder, why am I still short? I just feel dumb for that. But the stop is in. We'll see. Spider sense on that one. That's been wrong before. So we'll just respect our stop. Lots of dojis today still. Quite a few of the large caps on an auto framer. Had some weakness here in 3M continuing. A little bit of strength in American Express. Tesla was in the green for today. Another strong day from Disney. Dang it. Sure have missed that one. That's one of those, I hate them as a company. I find it hard to trade them on the long side. A personality defect. But I know that about myself, so what are you going to do? All right, the ETFs, only utilities on a auto framer. The globals are doing especially well. I mean, that's, EFA, Asia less Japan, and Japan. Mexico and Brazil doing really well in Latin America. Clean energy continuing to be our favorite short and getting ready to roll over and get worse. Consumer discretionary and metals and mining. That's that strength in U.S. Steel and Cliff now. And yesterday in Alcoa. So I think there's more room in that one. And it's getting all this done without tech really participating, to be honest. Standard planning factors there for the auto framer and the daily squeezes. Here's just another piece of evidence that I'm on the wrong side of that McDonald's trade. I just feel it is extremely pinched, and that's not the behavior you would expect in a company that's weak and failing. So I just think I'm on the wrong side. I got to clean that up tomorrow before it gets ugly. It's more important that I respect the stop than I try to reason too much about it, though, if I'm being honest. That just gives me something to look at for tomorrow. Go right to the... Oops, missed one. Sorry. Looking at the regression line fractals. Still United Health and Tesla. Natural gas, 14 ATR below its fair value. Wow. There's Nvidia and Disney really overheated. Nike and Boeing also overheated. Even Intel doing well. Nvidia is the one that I like out of that whole stack because it's crushing the other semis, and tech has not started its move yet. Still hung up in some earnings releases tomorrow and early next week for some of the large mega cap tech. So we may not see a move in tech until next week, till we're safely through earnings. So meanwhile, the defensive plays, I'm making the most of them. And, Brazil long and clean energy short. CVS remains the only Godzilla. And we did say we'd take a look at that one today. So let's go take a look at CVS. Yeah, so what we saw yesterday, now this is interesting. This makes me want to take the long side of the Godzilla because this was a morning hook. So yesterday we saw this was that 10-day low, and we said it was going to be poised to either rebound from there or big fail down. But what it actually did was gave a head fake to clean out the weak hands, big sell-off, and then kind of a stable morning hook and PSAR flip. And now there's a nice little trade just to get back to here. So if we could manage about 50 cents, we could get a 3R to the top. So I'm actually more interested now in CVS than ever, starting off as an intraday trade with a 24-cent R10 and still 3.5 to 1 to the 10-day high. So I'm still liking Chevron. Or, I'm sorry, CVS Health. Not Chevron. It's still a stealth Godzilla. And we've seen marijuana is still a stealthy Godzilla, but it's already exhibiting downside price behavior. So that's good. Good for our short. Standard stats. Just some quick notes here on the multi-time frame NDX. Again, I just feel I'm on the wrong side of that. How can I be short McDonald's? God, I feel stupid. Man. I'm holding that one long, and then I was slow to get out of Ethereum. I just got to tighten up the shot group there. In the ETFs, notice how strong the globals are. EAFE, Asia less Japan, Brazil, Japan, Latin America, Mexico. That's where that strength is. And tech is still lagging. It's only in the mid-range here when everything that was really dominating is gaining large. And longer term, tech is still bruised and just above average here, whereas these are all in the solid green. So that's just the difference in relative strength. All right, let's see. I think that's everything we want to look at. All right, that's everything for today. We'll get this published and posted and be ready for them tomorrow.